Your world just collided with mine, and nothing will ever be the same again. Do you feel that cosmic shift happening deep in your bones right now? That sudden vertigo that comes not from physical imbalance, but from spiritual realignment. That moment when the ordinary timeline of your existence intersects with the eternal timeline of my purposes and creates an explosion of possibility that rocks the very foundations of what you thought was real? This is not a mental exercise. This is a divine intervention. This is not inspiration. This is invasion. Heaven has just crashed into your reality with the force of a meteor striking Earth. I have been circling your life like a patient eagle, watching from heights you cannot see, waiting for the perfect atmospheric conditions when your heart would be soft enough to receive what I have been burning to give you. This is that moment. This is that hour. This is that appointed time when the fullness of time meets the emptiness of your surrender and creates the perfect storm for supernatural transformation. You have been living in 2 dimensions when I created you for 10,000. You have been breathing the thin air of human limitation when I designed your lungs to process the pure oxygen of heaven's atmosphere. You have been operating on the low voltage current of your own strength when I wired you to run on the high-powered energy that flows directly from my throne room. But tonight, we flip the switch. Tonight, we change the frequency. Tonight, we upgrade your entire operating system. Listen to me very carefully, beloved of my heart, because what I am about to tell you will either terrify you or transform you, and the choice of which it will be rests entirely in your response to this revelation. You are not who you think you are. You are not what people have told you that you are. You are not limited by what circumstances have convinced you that you must be. You are a hybrid being, part human, part divine, carrying within your earthen vessel the very DNA of deity. Every cell in your body was programmed with potential that scientists cannot measure and doctors cannot diagnose. Every thought in your mind was wired with capacity that educators cannot teach and philosophers cannot explain. Every beat of your heart was synchronized with purposes that politicians cannot legislate and preachers cannot manufacture. You are a walking miracle disguised as an ordinary person, a supernatural being masquerading as natural flesh. But the enemy of your soul has been working overtime to keep you unconscious of your true identity. He has been injecting you with amnesia about your actual ancestry. He has been feeding you lies about your limitations and fairy tales about your failures. He has been convinced that as long as he can keep you believing you are merely human, he can keep you living beneath the level of your divine inheritance. Tonight, the anesthesia wears off. Tonight, the amnesia lifts. Tonight, you remember who you really are and why you are really here. You are not an accident of biology or a random collision of cosmic circumstances. You are a carefully crafted weapon of warfare designed specifically for this generation, this moment, this battle between light and darkness that will determine the spiritual temperature of the next 1,000 years. Do you see what is happening around you right now? The very atmosphere is changing. The spiritual barometric pressure is shifting. What you thought was just air you are breathing is actually the breath of the Almighty being inhaled into your spirit, carrying with it the power to resurrect dead dreams, heal impossible situations, and transform hopeless circumstances into platforms for demonstrating my glory. I am downloading into your consciousness right now access codes to realms of authority that have been locked away behind passwords of fear, doubt, and religious tradition. These are not fairy tale lands of make-believe. These are actual dimensions of reality where my will is done just as perfectly as it is done in heaven. And you, precious child, have just been given the keys to the kingdom. Feel that electricity beginning to flow through your spiritual nervous system? That is not excitement. That is empowerment. That is not adrenaline. That is anointing. That is not emotion. That is the actual power that raised me from the dead, taking up permanent residence in the temple of your surrendered life. This power does not come and go with your feelings. It does not fluctuate with your circumstances. It does not depend on your performance. It is a gift based entirely on my grace and activated entirely by your faith. You have been asking me to change your circumstances, but I am about to do something far more radical. I am going to change your position. When you rise to the level I am calling you to, circumstances don't just improve, they become irrelevant. When you operate from the realm I am positioning you in, problems don't just get solved, they become stepping stones to greater victories. The training is over, beloved. The preparation phase has concluded. The time for target practice has ended. You are about to be deployed into the actual battlefield where real enemies exist, real souls hang in the balance, and real miracles are needed to demonstrate the reality of my love to a world that has grown cynical about counterfeit Christianity. But do not think for one moment that you are going into this battle alone. I am not sending you. I am going with you. I am not pushing you forward. I am walking alongside you. I am not giving you orders from a distance. I am whispering strategies directly into your ear with every step you take. You are not my employee sent to do a job. You are my beloved child invited to participate in the family business of setting captives free. The weapons I am placing in your hands have never been used before because they were forged specifically for the battles you will face. The armor I am fitting to your frame was tailored exactly for your measurements because generic protection cannot cover the specific assignments I have written with your name on them. The authority I am placing upon your shoulders was measured precisely for your capacity because too little would leave you vulnerable and too much would overwhelm your present level of maturity. You are about to discover that every painful experience you have survived was actually combat training in disguise. Every betrayal you endured was teaching you to recognize the face of the real enemy. Every disappointment you weathered was developing your spiritual immune system against discouragement. Every delay you suffered was positioning you for divine timing that human schedules could never accommodate. What you called your worst season was actually your warfare college. What you labeled your darkest hour was actually your graduate school in faith. What you named your most difficult year was actually your PhD program in trusting God when trust seems impossible. Now you are about to put that education to work in ways that will astound your enemies and amaze your friends. I am about to reveal to you the master strategy that will enable you to win every battle before it begins. You do not fight for victory. You fight from victory. The war has already been won at Calvary. The enemy has already been defeated through my resurrection. Satan's doom has already been sealed through my blood. Your job is not to win the war, but to enforce the peace treaty that my death and resurrection purchased for all who believe. The collision between your world and mine has created a new reality where impossibilities become inevitable, where miracles become mundane, where supernatural becomes natural. You are now a citizen of two realms, simultaneously, earth and heaven, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities that dual citizenship entails. What happens in heaven can now happen through you on earth, because you carry heaven's embassy within your spirit. But remember this as you step into this new dimension of living. Great power requires great character. Supernatural authority demands spiritual maturity. Divine anointing necessitates moral integrity. I am not just changing your circumstances. I am transforming your character to match your calling. I am not just upgrading your abilities. I am purifying your motivations to handle the increase. The world is about to see what happens when heaven and earth collide in the life of someone who says yes to my will without reservation, condition, or compromise. They are about to witness what I can accomplish through a human being who refuses to live beneath the level of their divine inheritance. The collision has occurred. The transformation has begun. The adventure is about to commence. I am taking you through a valley tonight that cartographers have never mapped, because it exists only in the realm of faith, the valley of resurrection, where everything that appeared dead in your life discovers it was only sleeping. This valley is shrouded in mist that looks like despair to natural eyes, but is actually the cloud of my presence hovering over every graveyard in your existence, ready to breathe life into what others have pronounced deceased. The ground beneath your feet feels soft, because it is made of compressed hope, millions of prayers, tears, and whispered pleas for breakthrough that have been accumulating like spiritual compost, creating the perfect soil for miracles to grow. As we walk together through this sacred landscape, I want you to see what I see when I look at your life. Where you see failure, I see fertilizer. Where you see endings, I see new beginnings waiting to be born. Where you see tombstones marking death, I see cocoons concealing transformation. Every grave in your valley is actually a garden plot prepared for the harvest of your destiny. Do you hear that sound echoing through the mist? It is not mourning. It is the sound of creation groaning, waiting for the manifestation of what I am about to do through your resurrected life. Every dream that died is about to be reborn with supernatural strength. Every relationship that flatlined is about to receive divine CPR. Every promise that seemed buried is about to burst forth from the earth with exponential increase. The path we are walking follows an ancient route that has been traveled by every person who ever discovered that my resurrection power was not just historical fact, but present reality. Abraham walked here when he believed I could raise Isaac even from the dead. Moses walked here when he turned back toward Egypt despite his fears. David walked here when he faced Goliath with nothing but a sling and stone. They all learned what you are learning now. The valley of death is actually the valley of resurrection in disguise. I am teaching you the language of resurrection tonight. Words that have the power to call forth life from the tombs of your disappointments. When you say nevertheless in the face of contradiction, you speak resurrection. When you declare, yet I will trust, in the midst of confusion, you activate resurrection. When you proclaim it is not finished over what appears to be endings, you invoke resurrection power that rearranges molecules and restructures reality. Watch as I show you the difference between natural death and spiritual dormancy. What your enemies celebrated as your defeat was actually your retreat into the cocoon of my preparation. What they mocked as your failure was actually your enrollment in the graduate school of resurrection living. What they pronounced as your finish was actually your fresh start being incubated in the womb of divine timing. The gravestones scattered throughout this valley bear familiar inscriptions: dreams deferred, hopes shattered, promises broken, relationships destroyed, ministries aborted, callings questioned, purposes delayed. But I am giving you resurrection eyes tonight that can read the real inscriptions written in invisible ink across these markers. Temporary, under construction, coming soon. Watch this space. Feel the temperature changing as we go deeper into the valley? It is getting warmer because we are approaching the furnace where resurrection miracles are forged. This heat is not meant to consume what remains of your faith. It is designed to melt away everything that is not truly of me, so that only the pure gold of my purposes remains. You are about to emerge from this furnace, refined, purified, and radiating with the glory of the one who makes all things new. I am revealing to you the secret of resurrection timing. Things must die completely before they can live abundantly. Seeds must die in darkness before they can sprout in light. Dreams must be buried in surrender before they can bloom in divine timing. The very completeness of the death is what guarantees the miraculous nature of the life that follows. But understand this about resurrection power. It does not just restore what was, it creates what never was. When I raise your dreams from the dead, they will be bigger than the originals. When I resurrect your relationships, they will be stronger than before they were broken. When I restore your calling, it will carry more authority than when you first received it. Resurrection multiplies, magnifies, and amplifies everything it touches. The enemy thought he had won when he succeeded in killing your confidence, murdering your motivation, assassinating your ambition, and executing your expectations. What he did not understand is that every assassination attempt on your destiny only served to prepare you for resurrection glory. What he meant for evil, I have been working together for good, and the good is about to be revealed in ways that will make him regret ever targeting you. I am placing resurrection authority in your hands tonight. The power to speak life into dead situations, hope into hopeless circumstances, healing into terminal conditions, and wholeness into broken places. When you learn to operate in this authority, graveyards become gardens, funeral homes become delivery rooms, and memorial services become celebration parties. This authority does not operate according to natural laws of cause and effect. It functions according to spiritual laws of faith and declaration. When you speak to mountains of impossibility, they move not because of geological principles, but because of resurrection principles. When you command storms of adversity to be still, they obey not because of meteorological reasons, but because of supernatural authority. You will soon discover that every area of your life where death seemed to reign was actually a jurisdiction waiting for a ruler who understood resurrection authority. Your finances that appeared dead will spring to life with supernatural multiplication. Your health that seemed terminal will revive with divine healing. Your family that looked hopeless will resurrect with miraculous restoration. But the most profound resurrections will happen in the hearts of people who observe what I do through your life. They will see dreams coming back to life in someone who looked finished and realize their own dreams can live again. They will witness hope being restored in someone who seemed hopeless and discover their own hope being renewed. They will observe faith being resurrected in someone who appeared faithless and feel their own faith being revived. The valley we are walking through is actually a highway. The highway of holiness that leads from death to life, from defeat to victory, from failure to triumph. Every step you take on this path creates a footprint that others will follow when their turn comes to walk through their own valley of resurrection. You are not just being resurrected. You are becoming a resurrection specialist who helps others discover that death is not the end of the story. As we reach the end of this valley, I want you to turn around and look back at the path we have traveled. Do you see how every grave we passed is now glowing with the light of possibility? Do you notice how every tombstone is beginning to crack as life pushes up from beneath? Can you hear the sound of resurrection beginning to rumble through the earth like an approaching earthquake that will rearrange the landscape of your entire existence? The valley of death has become the valley of resurrection because you walked through it with the one who conquered death forever. What dies in my presence cannot stay dead. What is buried with me must rise with me. What enters the grave with faith will exit with victory. You are about to step out of this valley, carrying resurrection power that will transform every cemetery you encounter into a garden of miracles. Come closer now, my most treasured one, because I am about to take you into the inner sanctuary where secrets are revealed that have been hidden from the foundation of the world. This is not a place your feet can walk to or your mind can navigate to. This is a realm your spirit enters when trust becomes total and surrender becomes complete. Here, behind the veil that separates the seen from the unseen, the temporal from the eternal, the natural from the supernatural, I share mysteries with those who have proven they can be trusted with the weight of divine revelation. The entrance to this sanctuary is guarded not by angels with flaming swords, but by your own willingness to release control and embrace mystery. The password that opens these doors is not spoken with your lips, but whispered by your heart in moments of absolute abandon to my will. The key that unlocks these chambers is forged from pure trust, tempered in the fires of unanswered prayers, and polished by tears of surrender. Look around this sacred space and see the architecture of intimacy. These walls are built with blocks of shared suffering. Every tear you cried that I cried with you. Every pain you felt that I felt with you. Every fear you faced that I faced alongside you. The ceiling is vaulted with arches of answered prayers. Some answered in ways you recognized and celebrated. Others answered in ways you have not yet understood. The floor is laid with stones of faithfulness, yours to me and mine to you, through every season when faithfulness seemed foolish. In the center of this sanctuary stands the altar of authentic relationship where the fire never goes out because it is fed by genuine love rather than religious obligation. This is not the altar of sacrifice where you give things to me. This is the altar of exchange where we give ourselves to each other. Here, you do not offer your works, but your heart. Here, I do not demand your service, but offer my friendship. Here, transaction becomes transformation, and duty becomes delight. The light in this sanctuary comes not from candles or lamps, but from the radiance of unveiled truth. Here, pretense melts away like wax and flame. Here, facades crumble like walls of sandcastles before waves of authenticity. Here, masks become meaningless because love sees through everything and loves what it sees. In this light, you see yourself as I see you. Not perfect, but precious. Not flawless, but forgiven. Not finished, but faithful. I am opening scrolls before you that contain the blueprints of your destiny written in the language of love. These documents are not contracts with conditions, but love letters with promises. Every line reveals another dimension of how deeply you are cherished, how completely you are accepted, how absolutely you are adored. The ink these words are written in is not black but golden, not fading but forever, not commanding but inviting. Do you see the treasury built into the walls of this sanctuary? Every act of obedience you have ever offered, even the clumsy ones, even the reluctant ones, even the imperfect ones, has been stored here like precious jewels. Every moment of worship you have given, whether in public or private, whether eloquent or stumbling, whether joyful or desperate, has been treasured here beyond any earthly measure. But the most valuable treasure in this sanctuary is not what you have given to me. It is what I am giving to you. I am placing in your hands tonight the keys to mysteries that will revolutionize how you see everything. The key of revelation that unlocks understanding. The key of discernment that distinguishes between truth and deception. The key of wisdom that knows when to speak and when to be silent. The key of authority that commands and circumstances comply. These keys come with an instruction manual written in the language of relationship rather than the dialect of religion. They work not through formulas but through fellowship. They activate not through technique but through trust. They operate not through manipulation but through intimate communion with the one who holds all authority in heaven and on earth. I am whispering to you now the sacred secret that will change everything about how you approach every challenge. You do not need to figure me out to trust me completely. You do not need to understand my methods to believe, my motives. You do not need to comprehend my timing to rely on my faithfulness. The secret is not in knowing everything, but in knowing the one who knows everything and trusting his heart toward you. In this sanctuary, I share with you the divine mathematics that governs my kingdom, equations that defy earthly logic but demonstrate heavenly wisdom. 1 + 1 = infinity when two hearts unite in purpose. Subtraction becomes addition when you give away what you cannot keep. Multiplication happens through division when you break yourself open like bread to feed others. Division becomes unity when you separate from what separates you from me. The acoustics in this sanctuary are perfect for hearing my voice above every other sound. Here, my whispers become thunder and my gentle nudges become clear direction. Here, you learn to distinguish between my voice and every counterfeit. My voice always leads to life, always builds up, always brings peace, even when it brings challenge, always honors what is honorable and restores what is broken. I am revealing to you the secret of secrets tonight. The greatest miracles do not happen when you try harder, but when you trust deeper. They do not occur when you work more, but when you worry less. They do not manifest when you control more, but when you surrender more completely to the one who controls everything with perfect love and infinite wisdom. The instruments of worship in this sanctuary play themselves when your heart is truly engaged. The harps of praise vibrate with every grateful thought. The drums of declaration beat with every act of faith. The trumpets of triumph sound with every victory over fear. The symphony that emerges is not music you make, but music that is made through you when you become so lost in love that self disappears and only worship remains. Here in this sacred space, I am teaching you the art of holy expectation, the ability to anticipate my goodness without dictating its form. This expectation is not demand disguised as faith, but trust expressed as hope. It waits without wavering, believes without seeing, and knows without understanding, because it is rooted in the character of the one who cannot lie, cannot fail, and cannot change. The communion table in this sanctuary is always set because the feast of relationship never ends. Here, we break bread together, not as ritual, but as reality. Here, we share wine, not as symbol, but as substance. Here, we remember not just what I did, but who I am and who you are in me. This table extends an eternal invitation to intimacy that transcends every earthly limitation. As our time in this sanctuary draws toward its purpose, I want you to understand that what you have experienced here is not a one-time visit, but an always available reality. The door to this place never closes to those who approach with authentic hearts. The light in this room never dims for those who walk in truth. The secrets shared here never fade for those who treasure them with reverence. You are leaving this sanctuary not empty-handed, but carrying treasures that will enrich every person whose life you touch. You are exiting not unchanged, but transformed by the revelation of how deeply you are loved and how completely you are trusted with the sacred secrets of heaven. The intimacy you have tasted here will become the foundation for everything you build in the days ahead. In this final sacred chamber where all masks are removed and only truth remains, I am holding before you a mirror that reflects not your physical appearance, but your eternal significance, showing you not who you have been, but who you are becoming in the transformation of my relentless love. Look deeply into this divine reflection, beloved, and see yourself through the lens of my heart rather than the limitations of human perception. See past the scars that tell stories of survival to the glory that speaks of victory. See beyond the weariness that whispers of struggle to the strength that shouts of resilience. See through the brokenness that echoes with pain to the wholeness that resonates with purpose. This mirror reveals the you that exists in my mind, not the version that has been shaped by disappointment, defined by mistakes, or limited by circumstances. This reflection shows the authentic you that was conceived in my heart before stars learned to shine, crafted in my imagination before time began to tick, designed in my workshop before Earth received its first breath of life. Do you see how your eyes glow with the light of my love even when you feel unlovable? Do you notice how your hands shine with the power to heal even when you feel powerless? Do you observe how your voice carries the authority to speak life even when you feel voiceless? The mirror shows realities that feelings often conceal and truths that circumstances sometimes obscure. In this reflection, every failure becomes a foundation stone for future victory. Every tear becomes a river of compassion that will water the dreams of others. Every wound becomes a window through which my healing light shines into broken lives. Every struggle becomes a strength that enables you to carry others through their own battles. Nothing is wasted in the economy of my love. But the most stunning revelation in this eternal mirror is not what it shows about you, it is what it reveals about me reflected through your transformed life. Your surrendered heart has become a window through which others catch glimpses of my nature. Your healed wounds have become doorways through which my grace enters desperate situations. Your restored dreams have become bridges that carry others from despair to hope. The mirror shows you the faces of those who will be forever changed because you chose to be changed. That businessman who will discover integrity because you chose holiness. That teenager who will find worth because you chose worship. That mother who will locate strength because you chose surrender. That leader who will embrace humility because you chose to humble yourself under my mighty hand. This reflection ripples outward like waves on still water, carrying your influence far beyond the circles where your name is known, extending your impact into generations that will never hear your voice, but will benefit eternally from your obedience. The choices you make today create reflections that will shine in eternity, influencing destinies you will not discover until you reach heaven's shores. I am showing you in this mirror the enemy's greatest fear about your transformation, that your authentic change will expose the emptiness of his counterfeits, that your genuine joy will highlight the shallowness of his pleasures, that your real peace will reveal the temporary nature of his distractions. When people see my glory reflected in your life, they begin to hunger for the source of that glory. The mirror also reveals the mystery of reciprocal reflection. As you gaze upon my love, you are transformed into my likeness, and as you are transformed into my likeness, you become a clearer reflection of my love to others. This divine cycle creates exponential impact. Reflection leads to transformation. Transformation leads to deeper reflection. And the process continues until love covers the earth like waters cover the sea. But I want you to see one more thing in this mirror that will anchor your soul through every storm ahead. You are not reflecting borrowed light, but generated light. You are not mimicking someone else's relationship with me, but living your own authentic connection. You are not copying another person's calling, but walking in your unique purpose. The reflection you see is genuinely yours, purchased with my blood and empowered by my spirit. The mirror reveals that your greatest days are not found in your history, but hidden in your future. Your most powerful testimony is not behind you, but before you. Your most significant impact is not in your memory, but in your destiny. Everything that has happened until now has been preparation for everything that is about to happen through you. As you look in this mirror, you see the responsibility that comes with true transformation. Every person who sees my reflection in you will either be drawn toward me or driven away based on the authenticity of what they observe. You carry the awesome privilege and sobering responsibility of being my hands, my feet, my voice, my heart made visible to a world desperate for genuine encounter with the question that will determine the legacy you leave and the impact you make. Will you accept the responsibility of being my reflection in a world that desperately needs to see authentic love in action? Will you embrace the calling to mirror my character even when it costs you comfort, convenience, or acceptance? Will you allow me to shine through you so brightly that others are drawn not to you, but through you to me? This is not about perfection. This is about authenticity. This is not about having all the answers. This is about trusting the one who is the answer. This is not about being flawless. This is about being real in your relationship with the one who makes all things new. The mirror is showing you one final image. The moment when you stand before my throne and hear the words every transformed heart longs to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful in reflecting my love to a world that needed to see it. Enter into the joy of your Lord." That moment is not determined by your perfection, but by your availability, not by your performance, but by your surrender. If this divine encounter has cracked every false mirror you have believed about yourself and revealed the glorious truth of who you are in me, then mirror your commitment by commenting, "I reflect your glory," and sharing this transformational revelation with 21 souls before the dawn breaks tomorrow. As you obey this sacred invitation, watch how my light begins to radiate through you with such brilliance that darkness flees wherever you walk, and lives are transformed simply by witnessing the authentic reflection of my love shining through your surrendered, available, completely consecrated heart.